So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good part of the day, everyone. Welcome to the largest, fastest growing, and the most active community, large scale Scrum community, U.S. city, U.S. New York City based, having gone viral and global. Thank you for joining today. We don't have a special speaker today, so it will be mostly a dialogue. But before we open up the forum, I would like to give a few words of introduction. So today's topic kind of it came from a long time thinking about implications of HR norms and policies, budget and finance, and very much so lately the artificial intelligence. These three factors come into play and impacting the job market and us here collectively understanding the difference between job security and role security, or how this slide is framing this job retention. This is something that would be considered the company's ability to retain employees, that actually retain, not retail. And job security, employees' assurance of having a job. Okay, and some of the bullets that we have listed here are as follows. I'm not going to read them. You can read them for yourself. It's about HR and budgeting. It's career path. It's roles that will still remain in demand, and roles that may potentially become reduced and obsolete, and etc. One relevant, and there's also on the meetup.com, you can see the actual synopsis. Not so long ago, my friend and colleague James Carpenter from Milwaukee and I, we actually did a bit of a recording, and I had my own write-up on the topic of agile roles being eliminated. It was specifically for roles in the agile, as we call it, industrial complex, right? It was very tailored to the role of a Scrum Master and some of the undesirable changes and challenges we have seen in the world instituted by some companies with respect to the role. So this is not, this discussion is not specific to agile roles, not specific to the role of a Scrum Master or the role of a coach. It's somewhat tangential. It's related. It's inclusive of the much bigger picture, much bigger challenge. So let me zoom out again and talk about the overall job market and roles when it comes to us, people that the workforce, and also organizations that support us. They employ us. They procure us. They engage us. So this is like a Bermuda Triangle: budgeting, HR, and AI are the three chevrons, the three very influential factors that come into play. So what for this, I have prepared this relatively easy to read system model. And of course, any system model being created in a silo by an individual is not bulletproof. So I don't claim that this is the best way to show cause and effect relationships. This is just one of the ways to put my own thoughts on paper. We can discuss it, of course. The best way to do a modeling is by a group of individuals on a mirror board, or better yet, in front of a whiteboard. So let me start with this. So those of you that are not familiar with system modeling and system thinking, I recommend going back and actually reading the book by Richard Hackman. Peter Senge, The Fifth Discipline. There was a Freudian slip. I was talking about someone else about the Hackman's book. And also, obviously, reading about system modeling, and you can go on Les.org site. Large scale Scrum, as you may know, teaching of it is heavily reliant on system modeling. So I'm not going to be covering theory here. I'll be getting right to the point. So I'll be paraphrasing, so it should be easy to understand. So let's start with this system variable. I'll call it an attribute, if you will. The likelihood that activity, any sort of activity, whether it's agile role or technical job or financial job or any other type of job, activity will be automated by AI. So if this likelihood, if this system variable goes up, in other words, the likelihood is going to increase, what happens then? Clearly the speed of work due to AI would go up, right? Because computers can always be always faster than humans. I mean, on the, by a factor, not 5 times, not 10 times, probably 100 times. So speed of work is increased, more output, presumably also more outcome, but it's clearly much more productive than a human. So let me just pause for, just put this to the side for a minute, and let's take a look at another system variable. If this likelihood that AI will come in and, start jobs or I shouldn't say jobs, activities, type of work when it gets automated. So with more and more automation we have, there will be an increased degree of single function specialty or routine jobs being challenged. And by the way, and of course, it probably was implied, but I should have said this explicitly. Craig Larman, the co-founder, co-creator of Less, has been pretty big specifically on the AI aspect lately. It's a part of this discussion along with other strong system variables that I think need to be discussed. But he actually very well articulated this in his recent keynote speech at the Less conference in Berlin, where he said, look, sooner or later, and probably sooner rather than later, single function specialties, routine jobs that do not require ongoing learning and ongoing exploratory activities, they will be under stress. They will become a lunch for AI, because you can teach machines to do many rudimentary or routine tasks, and they will do it with the speed of light almost. So unless there is an element of intellectual advancement and learning in the job itself, it may become the subject to AI obviously coming and having it for lunch. This will, as much as we hate, so by the way, I sometimes color code my sticky notes into reds if I want them to go down, I don't like them, or greens if I want them to go up. But here I'm just leaving them in yellow, which is kind of neutral. So I don't want to anchor anyone to my views, to my biased views. But if this system variable also goes up, the degree to which single specialist routine job gets challenged, if this goes up, then inevitably at some point we're going to see more layoffs and force reduction. Please let me know if you see it otherwise. Or just hold off for now. We'll open up for discussions in a minute. So if we have more layoffs and force reduction over time, it's going to have an opposite effect. O stands for an opposite on the number of people that need to be managed. Just because we have fewer people involved in these mechanical, or I shouldn't say mechanical, not only mechanical, also routine jobs, routine work. It could be very, it does not have to be a physical job. It could be intellectual work. But if it's very routine, and if it could be assigned, it could be given to AI, then eventually humans will be substituted by machines. In which case, the number of people will drop. So force reduction, or humans being reduced in numbers, if this goes up, the number of people that need to be managed goes down because you have fewer people needed. As such, there's a belief out there that, well, it's the jobs of people will be reduced, but us managers, we're not going to get reduced. We are still going to be in power, or we're still going to be around. That's probably a misnomer. This is it's a fallacy, because if there are fewer people to manage, then of course there will be fewer managers, or at least there will be fewer managers that are meaningfully engaged. By the way, some of these errors are pointing out, and I'll speak to this in a second, to a much larger systemic view, to an organizational design structure and system, organizational ecosystemic model. But I'll get to this part in a second. So this belief is challenged now. There's another error coming out of speed of work. So if this variable goes up, then the belief, I will simply work more efficiently in my single specialty with AI, so I can compete with a computer. Hopefully following the train of thought here. Some people may think, okay, well, AI is coming, in the marketplace, and AI is going to, maybe take some of my activities. So what do I do to remain in demand, in trend and style, and not be challenged? I need to work more efficiently. I need to work faster. I need to have more output. And as we have seen many times, if this belief persists, then the degree of working on non-valuable stuff goes up as well. People start working on, frankly, on junk. They create an illusion of being busy. They create an illusion of working on the highest priority stuff, just to create, just to remain relevant, right? So what do I do to remain involved and compete with computers and artificial intelligence? Let me be more productive. Let me work faster. Not necessarily working on the most important stuff. By the way, this arrow points out this way, all the way to one of the exercises of last training, where we talk about percentage of overall organizational waste. So when you start working on stuff that is not really critical, not high degree of importance, you end up producing lots of waste. There was something else going on here. Another system variable that is sort of the opposite to this. Well, I shouldn't say the opposite, but an alternative to this. Likelihood that activity will still have human value add. For now, at least. If this is going to go up, if this variable, system variable, if this likelihood is going to increase, then it's going to have an opposite causation on the likelihood that activity will be automated by AI. Okay, so if there is an absolute inevitable contribution by a human brain, by a human intellect, that cannot be substituted by a computer, by AI, then it is less likely that this function will be automated, which, by the way, is driven by another important concept. Jobs, subsequently roles, that require continuous and ongoing learning, very dynamic learning, are much more resilient and more protected, I guess I would say, right, against this AI, AI conquering the world, right? So, here is another idea for you: structural change. Formerly in HR, titles, broad job title with career path and multi-learning. This is a very strong idea, so let me turn this, actually make it a thick arrow. This is going to increase the likelihood that activity will still have a human value add, is heavily dependent on this idea, structural change, organizational change, structural change at HR level. We as companies should start looking into how to frame jobs, how to frame titles and job descriptions so that individuals pursue a career path that will make them more resilient, more resistant to AI, advancement of AI. Otherwise, they may become obsolete at some point. By the way, this is not inconclusive. I would actually have a very strong input to this coming from HR directly, but here is something indirect. Degree of improving a career path. Having like a primary, secondary, tertiary skills of learning. This is going to be a constraint to this cause and effect relationship, to this causation. Degree to which a single function, special routine job gets challenged, as it goes up, it is going to lead eventually to layoffs and force reduction. However, this is a constraint to this cause and effect. So in other words, if we have this increased, then it's going to, it's like a brake. You slow down this process, which brings us to another point. Where is this arrow going? It's actually going to another less training exercise when we talk about career path, promotion, compensation, supportive of functional skill set and retention, and expansion. So this is where it all comes perhaps together for you. So this is just HR part, right? We can try to compete with AI. We can try to compete with computers, but as humans, at some point, in certain dimensions, we'll get beat. We'll get beaten. We'll get outnumbered. Computers will be better than us, faster than us, unless there's a big unless we have, at least for I guess for many decades. I personally, this is maybe philosophical, but a human will always remain a human, unless our jobs entail certain things certain types of learning that computers will not be able to do for another 25, 30, 50 years, right? And this ties right back to HR norms and policies. This ties right back to the way our roles are, written up, and the way HR and managers look for people and promote people. It's just a matter of time. Now, how about does budgeting come into play? I didn't really tie this directly to budgeting. I will just give you a few nuggets from the budgeting discussion that we typically have, budget and finance, when we talk about large-scale Scrum product development. Well, you see a few variables here. I won't be trying to explicitly map them to the conversation we just had, but rigidity of hiring rates, urgency of year-end hiring because you need to burn your budget, dependencies on cascading top-down fixed year-end budgeting, and obviously the urgency to spend this budget by the year-end. All of these things come into play as well. As a simple example, right? So if you have a traditional organization and a manager wants to spend X number of dollars by the year end so that he gets the same amount next year, he will go ahead and just hire a candidate, whoever, just to make sure they fill in the spot. Certainly won't be a highly qualified standard. It won't be a high standard, because if you do it at the end of the year, fast, just to burn the budget, they'll least likely do enough vetting. They will least likely bring in a top-notch quality expert. Certainly not a person who has like a multi-skilled expertise or knowledge of multiple disciplines and aspiration to learn. And of course, this person will naturally become more vulnerable to this AI thing. So it's all interrelated, the way we budget. If we budget projects, if we budget by cascading down from the top of the house to programs, to projects, to individuals just to temporarily hire someone at the end of the year. We will not be essentially acquiring quality people that could learn and acquire skills that would make them resilient and resistant to AI coming in and actually claiming a huge share of the market. And this is going to eventually happen one way or the other. So again, it's not to say, well, we don't want computers, we don't want AI to advance. We actually do want it to advance. It's a new era. I guess it's a new generation of jobs will be out there, right? But we also want to be cognizant of this and understand that if people are trying to compete with computers, just be, in the dimension of efficiency, productivity, and speed, good luck. And I say to myself and to anyone else, there should be much more than that. There should be something else that we bring to the table that computers, that AI will not be able to substitute. So it's not a binary, of course. It's, either you are 100% immune to AI or you're totally 100% vulnerable. It's a spectrum. In fact, Craig Larman did a pretty nice, pretty vivid visualization with a few of his slides. It's almost like it's a little, it's a range. The more you are towards this, the more resilient you are to AI. The further away you are from this, where my cursor is at the moment, the more vulnerable you are to AI. I have spoken as much as I wanted to and a little bit more than that. I'm happy to open up and solicit from you. If you have any thoughts, any sentiments, or any concerns or questions, let's turn this into a forum.
You had a sticky around the manager and the thoughts of that manager role changing or not changing.
This one, yeah?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Do you think there's a link from there, from the idea that tasks will be automated because performance reviews, a lot of these tasks will be easily automatable as well, right? So what do you think of the link between those?
So Gordon, thank you. I'm sorry, Jeff. I didn't see there's no comment. Jeff, as I mentioned, I did not try to map everything to everything, but
Okay.
you're absolutely right. So if we consider a performance review and I call it the IPA nonsense. If we consider this as a part of the first line manager, second line manager job, it will be certainly under dramatic reduction. And in fact, I'm going to vote for that one first, because IPAs are just so toxic, demoralizing, and useless for the most part. So this is probably one of the things we do want to get rid of. And of course, if a manager spends most of his or her time doing this, that will become very uncomfortable with the whole idea. In fact, we don't need to wait for AI to come and change it. We should change it. But you're right. This is somewhere here when we're talking about HR norms and policies. You can probably find some of these stickies that describe what you just said. Yeah. So to make it simple, if performance evaluation remains to be a responsibility of a first line manager with AI coming into play, it is most likely be taken away because, quite frankly, this is the type of activity that a computer could do better than a human. Because right now, what first line managers do is not so impressive when it comes to performance appraisals, evaluations, promotions, and bonuses. So that's probably the thing that was going to go, one of the first things that are going to go. Hopefully it answers, Jeff. or at least gives. So yeah, you can certainly draw a cause and effect relationship between that sticky, the manager doing this, the first line managers degree of engagement when AI comes into play with the HR norms and policies. In fact, maybe this whole process will be eliminated by the time AI comes into play, because there will be so many computers doing work. It will become ridiculous to do performance appraisal on a computer, right? Think of this. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? By the way, there's another. I'm gonna just leave it up here for a few minutes. People can read this. This is the model that what drove me to create this piece. It was a part of the discussion, of course, in class and with other folks, to explain why some of the agile roles, specifically agile roles, are being eliminated. It has nothing to do with AI directly, but it has more to do with organizational misunderstanding of the role. But with AI coming into play, some of the routine jobs, like let's configure Jira, or let's move around tickets. That's certainly not a job for a Scrum Master or a coach. Those things would be automated. Any other questions? I'd rather say not questions. It's not me answering, and I may not have answers. Maybe people have views, opinions, or experience. Andrew.
Yes, hi, Gene. Great
Hi.
diagram. Will you share it with us?
The mirror, I can give you the access to the board read only, or can just give you a few snippets. In fact, it's easier because these I can just snip it. I can
if you can give read-only access, I would appreciate that. I like it all.
I can figure it
It's a
out.
great
This is the rest is probably less interesting to you unless it's the open discussion, because this is a full long course. The few things.
No, you did a great job mapping out all the possibilities, and it's great to see and to have it. But yeah, so what I wanted to say actually is that we should probably distinguish between near-term and long-term progress with AI, because near-term, more or less we're safe, except for certain like really mechanical jobs like text proofing, etc. But what will happen after these 5 years of AI technology settling down and affecting our market? That's a big question, because we have other developments. For example, there is an attempt to build a brain-computer interface, and attempts to upload consciousness into this new global internet. And there are also attempts to introduce universal income, and we don't know which one of these attempts to further advance, or not necessarily advance, but guide the humankind, which one of these will be most successful in the next 5 years. So it's really impossible to predict what will happen after this time frame. So I would say this diagram, it's great, but only for the next 5 years. And then it's completely unpredictable.
Thank you for this. By the way, I'm certainly not going to take the credit for, for implying this is conclusive or final. It's just to prime the pump. But you're right. We should probably distinguish between near and long-term implications. For the next 5-6 years, maybe it's less likely that anything will change significantly. But in the next 5 to 10 years, could be like a spike in AI, but who knows? Different hardware, different source of energy. There could be stuff that will really take us to a completely different dimension, and in which case, long-term impact could be somewhat what we're discussing here.
Yeah, we are actually near the singularity point at this point. And I'm referring to Singularity's near book. I would highly recommend it to anyone who wants to predict the future.
Feel free to ping the in the chat window. Please share the book.
Yeah, absolutely. May I ask more specific question? It's actually related to what I'm doing, and I'm not an HR. I'm a technologist, but I'm trying to build toolkit for HR that would help to automate HR work. And here's my challenge. Basically, AI can help you to better understand the company. It can help you to do what I call reveal hidden structure. Like the official structure, it's on the website. You have CEO, and then CXOs, and then VPs and managers, etc. But we hopefully all know that companies do not work this way. You have some quiet person sitting in the corner of your office, and that person knows everything about the project. So that's the key person in your company, right? And you may not allow this person to go under any circumstances. And companies like Meta or Twitter/X, they learned it hard way. They laid off a lot of key people without knowing about the actual impact of their presence in the company. So anyway, I have this tool, but the problem with this tool that helps you to find this hidden structure and solve conflicts, etc., is that AI actually needs to look into the communications between the employees to understand, like, are they hostile to each other? Are they friendly? Are they experts in certain area, etc.? So obviously, if you have HR looking into the messages and, you know, kind of spying on the employees, that's bad, and employees will not like it, and a lot of people will refuse to work in this company. How do you feel about AI looking into the messages, building basically summary report, and then providing it to the HR? Would you consider that spying, or would you consider that helpful?
If the question is to me, I have my personal strong bias, so maybe it's better if someone else in the forum answers. I mean, I don't want to anchor anyone to my views. When it comes to HR body of work, I would separate almost like, I don't want to give percentage 50-50 or 30-60 or 30-70, but there is, before thinking of what gets automated, what's not, I would first look into what is fundamentally wrong and outdated and wasteful, and should not be automated in one way or the other. Just should be tossed out the window, and what should be retained, preserved, improved, and maybe then automated. Now, what is really, you know, I mean, as far as spying on people, but I'm not sure if you like data mining or sourcing who does what. It could be also a question of, you know, legal question, a question of ethics. I'm not an expert at that in that, so
yeah, and that's the problem. Clearly, if someone is spying on your messages, that's bad. But what about AI doing analysis on your messages and then reporting do you feel like it's the same?
Look, again, I'm not an expert in this, but I can say, well, when you work for a company and you're using an instant messenger, you can always flag scripts and algorithms. You will be flagged by scripts and algorithms if you're using a certain figure of speech or certain verbiage. I don't think you need AI. I mean, maybe it's like a rudimentary form of AI. Maybe talking about something more advanced, but you know, to me, it's actually not a really an HR.
Got it. Thank you. If anyone else has opinion to share, I would appreciate it.
I think it's an interesting idea, right? Could AI help us better understand human organizations, right? And move away from things like org charts, right? Which almost never tell you anything about who really makes things move, right? Anyway, just an interesting idea.
Yeah, that's the actual idea. It's not about like flagging bad words. AI can do a lot more. It can analyze that, I don't know, your receptionist is actually a great expert in Python and then help you to promote this person within organization. It will also save irreplaceable people within organization from being fired. And but yeah, this question is about short term, like not after 5 years. After 5 years, I have no idea what will be useful and what not. But yes, I appreciate your feedback.
Look, if someone makes 10 attempts to integrate their code into head of the trunk and 10 times it fails, there isn't much AI to that. You just know that someone is doing this, maybe they need a bit of an upskilling. So But I think I understand what you're asking, although I can't give you a conclusive answer.
I also wanted to follow up on what you said about humans being better than computers in most things. I think it's a question of evolution because AI evolves a lot quicker than
No, I
humans.
didn't say all things. I didn't say
Yeah.
some things, and those are the things that that will make people, us, resilient and resistant. Not most things, of course. You know, anything that's like manufacturing or production line type of work, assembly line, we're already not as good as computers. No.
One theory says that computer can always be as efficient or a lot more efficient than any human. That's one of the theories, including with the creative work, etc.
This is where it may become sticky. Creative. So maybe if it's creative based on even if it's huge amount of data that is like snapshot in time, like 100 terabytes of knowledge, then yes. But if it requires ongoing learning beyond what's currently available, like exploratory, this is where I think humans may still remain unique. And again, I could be wrong. I just don't know. Who knows? It's like it's a speculation how far we're going to be able to advance in AI.
Yeah, so there are a lot of theories, and one of them says everything human can do, computers can do better. And you are actually referring to the current state of AI, where AI is basically getting existing knowledge created by creative humans and then recombines it. Basically, that's what ChatGPT does. But that's just the beginning. The future, in the future, near future, computers can be really creative.
Could be.
Yeah, one of the theories.
It just supports the notion that, you know, if we operate as a single function specialist doing some routine work, then, you know, like in the movie the Terminator 2, right? The computers will take over. Yeah, I just want to make sure others also, this is certainly an open forum, folks. So anyone else wants to chime in? Anyone who feels that maybe their company, you know, you don't have to bring up the name of the company, of course. ChatGPT or any other AI types of any other types of AI technologies that are putting putting some degree of pressure on some roles. Do you mind sharing? If there are instances like these.
I feel like everything is under pressure with the current development. By the way, if I may, let me show you one. By the way, I sent the link to this book. It's from 2006, but he kind of predicted what's going to happen in 2023. I mean, Ray Kurzweil. It's also about privacy because AI tools, many people do not realize that. But for example, when you bring an AI assistant into your meeting, it captures everything you say, right? So one thing I want to warn everybody about is reading the terms and agreements, terms and conditions for the system, because virtually all of them have the right to retain everything you said during the meeting in this recording and use any way they want. And in most cases, these companies are not unique AIs. They're just sending their data to ChatGPT. So basically, OpenAI/Microsoft, they're collecting all knowledge about all your meetings where you use these virtual assistants. So just be mindful about that.
Thank you for that, Andre. Hey, folks, just to solicit more insight from you, I wanted to kind of just align this. So just want to say one thing. Why does it matter so much in the context of this community, this forum? This is a large-scale Scrum community. We have been notoriously, we have been very adamant about stressing the importance of individuals acquiring additional skills and becoming less of a routine, fast component developer or single function specialist, more into a full stack developer, turning into more like a, from I to T to M shaped developer, improving individuals' internal skill set, internal to themselves, capabilities, business acumen, and becoming, for example, true product developers, not just coders that code fast and efficiently. So this is maybe you're wondering why this discussion is even relevant to our community. Well, because it's very consistent with the messaging that we try to convey through large-scale Scrum training and coaching and other discussions. Here's an example of, I call it a Bermuda Triangle. It's the one of the models that we built in class: reliance on technical bees and proxies, a likelihood that locally optimized component teams. And when I say component teams, it's mostly a single function specialty team or single skill set knowledge person and team will be scrumming with component stories. So this is a Bermuda Triangle you can read about. And now you can read this variable: amount of undone work at the end of each sprint that requires additional integration, coordination, hardening, blah, 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 blah. So we're talking about some degree of dysfunction with respect to a product development situation as we know it. And again, why is it relevant? Because when you have single function specialty humans, individuals, you will most likely have also component single function focused teams. And those are the functions that will eventually become more vulnerable to AI. So like if you were to ask yourself a question, who's gonna be under more scrutiny in 5 years? A routine front end or back end developer who just focuses on his or her individual code base without really seeing their entire spectrum of other components, other parts of the application, or a true product developer, a full stack person, a person who can actually speak business lingo, business language, who can touch multiple components. And then, of course, the question, I think the answer is the latter person will be much more resilient, much more resistant and less vulnerable to automation of functions and mechanics, right? Because they're not just putting a plaster or a band-aid on your scratch. They're actually doing a fully blown examination. They're doing a triage. They're treating you. So that's why it's so important. And we stress this so much, and we learned this through the system model and this, through system thinking. So this is certainly not an irrelevant topic to this. Very relevant.
If I may, I have a feedback about your Bermuda Triangle from technology perspective again. I'm not in HR. So this famous saying, like when a manager comes to a developer and asks like how long it's gonna take to develop this feature, and the answer is 1 month. What if I add one more person to your team? Okay, then 2 months. What if I add a manager to your team to manage this project? And the answer is at least 1 year, right? So the problem is the more people you add to the team, the more synchronization problems, the more bringing up to speed, learning, etc., comes to play. So the smaller teams are.
I'm sorry, but it's called Brooks' Law. What you describe, you add more people to the project, it's already late. It's going to come late, especially if you add a manager. But go ahead.
Yes, and we all know it's very true, at least in my experience. And the thing is, the smaller the team you have, the more efficient it is. If you can do this project with 3 people instead of 10, then you don't need all the managers, and your Scrum meetings will go a lot faster. So where AI will help, it can actually empower these 3 people to do the work of 10. So it will bring efficiency in this sense. And at the same time, in my recent experience, teams that do not have Scrum Master, they actually perform faster because this role is typically overtaken by the architect or product manager. So basically someone who knows both the product side and the technology side of the project. These people will be a lot more efficient in writing the stories and, you know, placing them on the board. And if AI can make this happen, then yes, this will bring a lot of efficiency. But yes, at the cost of the of the seats, there'll be a lot fewer people in the companies.
It goes back to one of Gene's stickies of like the quality of your Scrum Master as well, right? A lot of Scrum Masters are, you know, entering Jira tickets and doing stuff like that, just is not going to empower the team.
Exactly. Scrum Master who knows the product and the technology and member of the development team or product team, that would be a lot more efficient Scrum Master.
By the way, this whole conversation, as much as I'm gravitated, of course, to discuss the role of Scrum Master and a coach, just because of my line of work, or a developer, this applies almost anything: finance, sales, marketing, even medical field. This specific, maybe Jeff, that's what you were alluding to. Somewhere here, you can see some of the organizational systemic weaknesses to the role with respect to understanding of what the role of a Scrum Master and a coach is. And this is exactly why, or at least to a large extent, why these roles become trivialized, ridiculed, bastardized, watered down, relabeled, and eventually downsized. By the way, if you Google or just go to maybe this slide, it's not a slide, it's the widget from the recording. You can actually trace the links to Bloomberg and to other sources where you can read how some companies completely remove job families that are no longer relevant. So first you set them up for failure, and then you eventually reduce them. And how is it not an HR factor? An HR function? Very much so.
I'm seeing one issue with this though. To be able to effectively use AI, you need people with stronger technical skills. Prompt engineering is a serious science, actually. It's not just a joke. So that means more kind of lower skill jobs and candidates for these jobs will be at risk a lot more than in pre-AI era.
Sorry, I think you have a point about what you have weak manager.
No. When I was mentioning this Scrum Bermuda Triangle, that you would prefer to have smaller teams and the AI can actually empower smaller teams to act more efficiently. This small team will only have highly skilled people who can understand a lot of concepts and also work with AI. So very experienced senior developers. So again, this hits juniors as well. Mm-hmm.
But that's not the point of this graphic illustration, although it's kind of common sense what you just said. Small teams are always better as long as you have enough skill set and domain expertise on the team. You don't want to make them smaller just for the sake of a lower number and lose out on some skill. This specific triangle essentially alludes to something more specific, more So it's a specific problem that we have identified with too many technical stories, technical spikes, and other, the stuff, the overhead and the overkill of unhealthy Scrum dynamics could be mapped between technical BAs and proxies and component teams. So this is it's called the vicious cycle. Maybe it's the Bermuda Triangle is not the right term to use.
It's a great name, actually. But yeah, my point was about AI empowering employees, and the point was that AI will empower skilled employees, skilled workforce a lot more than junior kind of level employees. So
I would agree with that, although it would separate junior and unskilled. Some junior people are very skilled.
Yes,
But yes, in principle, you're right.
I apologize for using incorrect terminology. I was
No,
only
it's all good.
referring to people who come to work like I'm here 9 to 5 and then I'm going home and I don't care about anything. So these people will not be empowered by AI. But juniors who come to a company to learn, they will be benefited by AI tremendously.
Yep. Folks, I realize we usually, thank you for this, Andre. We have, again, this was meant to be an open forum, like an open space kind of thing, right? Almost like an open space. We have 5 minutes to the hour. I usually suggest kind of wrapping things up so that people can make it this lunch and learn time. So for many people, we have to go back to a meeting for work. So any other questions, any other closing comments before we wrap this up? It has been overly quiet today. Is it because the topic is too vivid? I don't know.
Is the recording going to be shared or the Miraboard link?
Manoj, I will think about it. I'll either share with you all of the screenshots that are relevant, or I will maybe give you a read only. It depends. I'll see if I can. So I need to make sure that some of the data here is not private or confidential. Okay. Well, hopefully it was recorded too.
Sure, Gene. That will be helpful to get that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you all for joining. We'll wrap this up. Let this be. Yeah. Well, by the way, Craig Larman is in New York City in December. And for those of you that are considering to learn less from him directly. Other than that, I'm just going to wrap this up and wish everyone to have a great weekend and the good. And again, happy Veterans to those of you that are or know someone or someone in the family. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.